Hello, everyone. My name is Caden Moffat, and welcome to Women's Presence and Absence in Medieval No Theater. Today's episode is about a debate that shows up a lot when studying Japanese theater history. Why do women appear so often in medieval no plays even though actual women weren't allowed on stage? The phrase scholars use for this tension is women's presence and absence in no. To explore that theme, I'm going to start with a short story style performance based on a mix of female characters from no plays. After that, I'll break down the historical context and the debate itself, using ideas from Maki Isaka, Itsuko Terasaki, and Yuri Sato. A traveling monk walks across the Yodo River at dusk, when the sky had turned that gray-blue color right before night fully takes over. He's been on the road for hours, and his shoulders ache from carrying his pack. He decides to rest near a cluster of tall reeds. The river is calm enough that he can hear crickets on the opposite bank. As he kneels down to drink, he notices a woman standing a little ways off. She's wearing simple white robes, nothing fancy, but the way she stands, completely still, feels purposeful, like she's waiting for someone. Are you all right? You're all alone out here. Alone? Not exactly, she smiles slightly. I'm only remembering. Her voice sounds calm, but also heavy, like she's lived through something complicated. The monk steps closer, careful not to startle her. Do you live near here? I lived in Aguchi long ago. Aguchi. The monk has heard the name many times. Mostly whispered, mostly with judgment. It's a fairy town known for its courtesans. The monk tries not to stare, but he is curious. I've ferried travelers too, in my own way. They came to me for comfort, or company, or sometimes because they needed to feel seen. She tilts her head. They judged me as soon as they looked at me, but they talked to me anyway. A soft breeze rolls across the river. She doesn't move at all, like she's used to standing still for long periods of time. Once, a wandering monk named Saigayo came to my house. He asked for shelter. He expected to teach me something. Her smile gets a little sharper. But I told him that holiness isn't the only thing I found in temples. Sometimes it's found in unexpected places, even in people he'd been taught to look down on. The monk swallows hard. He knows the story, many people do, but hearing it from her makes it feel different, more real. Or maybe less real? He isn't sure yet. He notices something off about her. She doesn't cast much of a shadow. Before he can say anything, he hears soft footprints behind him, light and uneven, almost like a child's. A little girl steps out from the reeds, holding a broken folding fan. Her kimono is slightly too long, trailing on the ground. Are you my father? I've been looking everywhere. The monk shakes his head and kneels to be closer to her height. No, little one, I'm sorry. I'm not. Oh. She looks disappointed for only a moment before brightening again. Would you like to see my dance? I've been practicing. Without waiting for an answer, she unfolds the broken fan and begins moving in small, precise steps. Her dance is careful, controlled, almost like someone taught her exactly how each gesture should look. There's emotion in her face, but her body feels restricted. The woman from Aguchi watches her with a soft expression, almost maternal. She dances so she won't fade. The monk glances between them. You both seem like memories, he says quietly. The woman doesn't deny it. We come back when someone remembers us, or when someone performs us. The monk waits. The woman continues. Men told our stories long after we were gone. Every gesture, every step, every word. They decided how we moved and how we felt. She looks down at her own hands. They performed us on stage, even though we were never allowed to stand there ourselves. The girl stops dancing and walks over to the woman, slipping her hands into hers. Is that why we're still here? Maybe. She looks at the monk. Maybe we stay because we were never allowed to show our real voices. Only the versions they created. The wind picks up, lifting the edges of their sleeves. The girl leans into the woman's side, tired from her dance. But you're remembered, he says softly. You're in the plays. People know your stories. Do they? She asks gently. Or do they only know the masks? The monk doesn't have an answer. The girl squeezes the woman's hand. Will he forget us? No, she says. He saw us with his own eyes. That's enough for now. The reeds rustle loudly as if the river itself exhales. The two figures begin to fade, not suddenly, but slowly, like a fog dissolving as the night gets darker. Tell them, she says, her voice now barely a whisper. Tell them we were more than the roles they gave us. And then both the woman and the girl disappear completely, leaving the monk alone on the riverbank, unsure if anything he saw was real, or if he had barely stepped into the space between memory and performance. The river keeps flowing, quiet and steady, as if holding all their stories beneath its surface. Okay, so let's talk about what that story represents. The whole point of this episode is the debate around women's presence and absence in medieval no theater. Basically, how women appear all over the stories but were physically excluded from the stage. No emerges from the Muromachi period, roughly 14th, 16th century Japan. It becomes a prestigious art form performed almost entirely by hereditary male tropes. Women weren't allowed to be performers. But at the same time, female characters are central to some of the most famous no plays. They're mothers, courtesans, daughters, spirits, goddesses, emotionally complex and essential to the storytelling. So that's the tension. Women are symbolically present, but physically absent. This is where the scholars come in. Number 1, Maki Isaka, femininity as performance. Now, Isaka explains that No creates its own stylized version of femininity. The masks, gestures, and vocal patterns used to represent women were all designed by men. So No presents women, but only through a male-controlled filter. This is why, in the story, the girl spirit dances in a very controlled way. It reflects how femininity in No is something constructed, not authentic. Number 2, with Itsoko Terasaki, the courtesan as a metaphor. Now, Terasaki looks closely at the courtesan in Iguchi and argues that she's less of a realistic woman and more of a Buddhist symbol. Her purpose in the play is to teach a spiritual lesson. So, once again, a woman is present, but not as herself. She's there as an idea. That's why the woman in the story says, "They saw me as a lesson, not a person." And finally, Yuri Sato. Female children played by boys. Now, Sato studies characters like the girl spirit in the story segment. She shows even that young female roles, who are central to a lot of No plays, were performed by boys. These roles still carry emotional weight, but the absence of the real girls enforces the same theme: presence and absence at the same time. The more I read, the more paradox becomes really clear. No depends on female characters, but it pushes real women out. Women's stories matter in the plays, but women's bodies and voices don't get to shape those stories. In the short performance earlier, I paired an adult woman and a girl spirit to highlight how both types of female characters are everywhere and no, but both are shaped by the same system that keep women off stage. Ultimately, this debate, women's presence and absence, shows how gender and no is a performance of ideas about femininity, not a space for actual women. And understanding that tells us a lot about both the art form and the society that created it. Thanks for listening. I hope this made the debate around women's presence and absence in medieval no theater a bit clearer. I'll see you next time.